Okay, dude. I've been talking to every one of my friends and colleagues around the country about how your life and how your business is impacted by what's going on. So, from a NFL coaching perspective, what's going on?
Oh, it's crazy, especially going to a new team for the first time. So obviously, I was in Cincinnati last year and was hired in Cleveland. So my wife and my kids were all in high school and one's in college. They stay behind, so they're in Cincinnati. I'm living out of a hotel in Cleveland. Things are going great. We're putting a system in place, and then all of a sudden the crisis hits. I think the Browns were a little ahead of the curve as far as getting people home and working remotely and starting the social distancing. So on a Friday, we went in and had a staff meeting, and coach said, I want everybody working from home until further notice. That was probably 3 weeks ago now. So I drive back down from my hotel. I check out of my hotel. I take all my belongings back in my car, drive down to Cincinnati, pick up the family, and drive to our house in Pittsburgh. We have a little farm in Pittsburgh that's outside of the city, and it is probably a social distancing at its finest. So there's no one around. So we've been here now for, I think this is 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and we're still meeting every day remotely. We go through a certain app, and every day on our work days, and 9 o'clock in the morning, I have 9 coaches' faces in like a Brady Bunch box, and we're discussing whatever topics need to be discussed. We're still building the playbook. We're setting up the installation schedule as far as what day, what plays come in. And now we're, as the hopes were to get the players in on the 6th, which obviously is not going to happen. Now we're trying to find ways to remotely coach these guys from our houses, whether it be in Virginia, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Arizona, coaches in Arizona. So they're all over the place right now. We meet every day, and everything's actually, it's going smooth. It's not as nice as it would be if you were all together, but we're making the most of it.
All right, this is really interesting to me. So, if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan and I get to watch this today and I don't know that much about you yet, I'm going to be curious about a few things. So start me off with this. You're talking about the way how smooth it's working between you and the offensive staff, and yet you guys are all new together. Even your head coach, Kevin Stefanski, you got to explain, how is it that a guy like him comes in, takes over this job, and he goes out and finds a coordinator like yourself or a line coach like Bill Callahan. It's really a group of guys coming together, but it doesn't seem like everybody's all worked together in the past. And yet it sounds like things are operating quite smoothly, given that everybody can't be face to face. How did you guys all get connected?
It was weird. It was not, it was a strange deal for me. I was coaching the Senior Bowl on a Saturday morning and got a couple phone calls from some guys that said, "Hey, Cleveland might be interested." And it was kind of out of left field. And then next thing you know, Tuesday, I was in Cleveland interviewing for the job. So I've not worked with Coach Stefanski in the past, but I've worked with a lot of people that have. And I think it's just a lot of mutual friends, mutual coaches throughout the league that have crossed paths, that have kind of said, hey, maybe take a look at this guy, or vice versa. As soon as I got the job, I probably had 6 or 8 coaching friends call me and say, "What a great head coach you have. Kevin's one of the best guys I've worked with." And that comes from a lot of coaches I have great respect for. Hats off to him for putting together a hell of a staff, in my opinion. I mean, Bill Callahan's on board, one of the finest O-line coaches in the game. Stump Mitchell has done an outstanding job with the running backs. We have, Chad O'Shea's coming in. He's a 3-time Super Bowl winner in New England, coaching receivers. Drew Petzing's coming over from Minnesota, who was with Coach Stefanski. He's going to be coaching our tight ends. I mean, so we put together a hell of a staff.
Well, let me ask you about that real quick. But when you become an offensive coordinator, this is always my impression, that the head coach says, "Hey, you're going to be my offensive coordinator," and you're going to say, "Yeah, and I've got a whole bunch of guys that I'm planning to put on my staff." I mean, it is interesting that you had not worked with this head coach. You have not worked with this staff. It's all brand new. That's really interesting.
And it's kind of fun too, because I'm learning more from Bill Callahan and Stump Mitchell and Chad O'Shea. That it's been great for me. A lot of times maybe with you work with guys, them too well. This is good, and we don't know each other well enough yet. We're all learning ball together, trying to put this system together collectively, and I think that's great. I mean, the more minds, the more good minds you have that have done things different ways, opens up discussion for different ways of doing things. But at the end of the day, we all agree on what we're going to do, how we're going to call it, and whatever we're teaching, and that's all one collective voice.
How's it work for a guy like you who's now getting your second opportunity to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL? And then you got a guy like Bill Callahan, who's been a head coach, who's coached a Super Bowl team, who a year ago was an interim head coach last season,
Sure.
and now he's at this coaching position group. How is it for you? Is he respectful to, or is I just would think that guys with his resume might say, "Hey, I'm senior to a guy like you, but I've got to respect the title." How does that dynamic work?
I think everybody has checked their ego at the door. I would hope that's how our meetings feel to everybody that's in the room. It is a collective, collaborative group of guys putting an offense together, and that's how I feel about it. When it comes to running protection, I don't know if I know more than Coach Callahan. I think he's probably blocked every front and run the ball against every front known to man. Now, when it comes to beating two man, I don't know if he could tell you what routes to beat two man. So everybody has a strength, and we're all pulling together. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's one voice and one arrowhead in one direction.